David, if you are Jerry Reese and you are staring down the offseason, what is priority number one for your Giants?
Well, you have to protect Eli. I think that can happen over the course of the draft. Maybe you find a free agent somewhere. But I think if you really look at the style of offense that they run, they improved a lot. But the tight end position is a real need. Will Tye tried to play there, and he did a good job. But I've talked to Eli and those guys out there. If they can get someone there, what's interesting is Martellus Bennett was with the Giants when I was there. He would be perfect for this system right now because he's a guy that can play the single tight end. He can block as good as the right tackle or left tackle. He can go out, obviously, matchup-wise, can do some phenomenal things. Find a guy like him, and ironically, he's a free agent. That would just be kind of strange that he came back and played there. He'd be a perfect fit, but find a guy like that can kind of hold that position down because he's on the field a lot. They catch a lot of balls. They want to use that tight end. Jared Cook in Green Bay, same system, went in, did some great things. I think they need that in New York.
Martellus, and particularly if he comes back to New York with the same kind of buy-in that we saw from him in New England this season.
I don't know if he wants to leave, but I'm just saying, that's just me.
He's made some comments that lead me to believe that he wants to get paid.
Man.
Absolutely. He got his hardware.
What about the running back position? Because this is a team that hasn't run the ball very well, and they just cut their leading rusher.
In the last few years, and a lot of people are talking about Adrian Peterson as one of those guys that fit really good in that system. But if it's Perkins, regardless of who it is, they need to run the ball consistently. They need to find a running back that can take care of the ball, one, and that can help them on first and second down. And then shifting over, the middle linebacker position is interesting to me because they haven't drafted a first-round linebacker since Carl Banks in 33 years.
Wow.
1984. Mark Herzlich and Keenan Robinson are free agents, so you got to find somebody right there. I think Jerry Reese did a great job in the offseason of retooling the front line and the defensive back position, but you still need linebackers of the heart and soul of every defense, and you need linebackers.
No LT?
That's wild.
No, LT was 81.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying he wasn't a first round.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, okay.
I'll say 80 since 84.
Oh, got it.
33 years
okay.
ago.
Yeah. Math. Not my strong suit.
Come on, USC, remember. Fight on.
Sorry, I mean,
Go to Fresno
I'm really
State,
good at everything, so I went to USC. What about the Eagles, David?
So the Eagles are interesting because you look at what Carson Wentz did early in the season, and he was pretty efficient, and even threw the ball down the field pretty good. But towards the end of the year, they missed the big plays. So I kind of liken it to it's the Chiefs' offense, basically, that came over there. And Tyreek Hill did some things for them, for Kansas City, down the field that I think if you kind of find a guy in Philly, ironically, Deshaun Jackson would be perfect. Again, another free agent going back to the place that he played. Maybe you can't get Deshaun to come back to Philly, but, man, he'd be perfect for that system, a guy that can take the top off the coverage. A lot of his, 600 yards of his receiving yards are over 20-yard plays. So, I mean, he takes chunks out of the field. So a guy like that, you could probably even draft one, but I think that would really help Carson Wentz to be able to back those guys up a little bit.
You're getting really creative.
Hey, I'm just trying to think outside the box and helping these guys. Yeah.
He's very creative. Ross would be a guy from Washington that can take the top off.
Speed.
And we saw some big plays, and one of those highlights was on Leotis McKelvin. They cut him at the end of the season, and Nolan Carroll, their defensive backs, talking about big plays. They gave up a lot of big plays this year. Neither one of those guys, I don't think, will be back on the roster. So they need cornerbacks. I think they got a great front seven. They got a safety that can come down. But you don't have cornerbacks. You got to have cornerbacks in this league to stop people. Else you're going to see plays like this, and you're going to be on the opposite side of the highlight film. Go out there and find some guys. A.J. Bouye, I don't know if he gets away from the Texans, but he emerged as one of the better cornerbacks. Tremaine Johnson from the Rams. Stephon Gilmore from the Bills. He's a young player that can play really well. There's some guys out there that you can go out and get if you don't draft. You have to mix free agents and drafts. You can't get it all in the draft. So you got to bring in some experience in free agency as well.
What about the Redskins, who we just saw in a highlight scoring a touchdown against that Eagles secondary? What do you do there?
You need Kirk Cousins.
I agree.
You need to get Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's the end of it. I mean, your biggest offseason needs start with him. So long-term deal him, and then maybe you can get Pierre Garçon back. Maybe you can't get Deshaun Jackson to stay, but you can keep Pierre. You can keep the nucleus of that team together, and then maybe spread it out so you can pull some other pieces in and try and make a run at this thing.
And now that we got the quarterback signed, we're going to give him a long-term deal. You need a second tight end. Jordan Reed hasn't been healthy. You need a guy with the 1-2 punch that can come in when he's not there, a blocker, and a guy that can stretch the middle of the field as well. So I would say the tight end position / receiver. If you don't sign Deshaun Jackson or Pierre Garçon back, you're going to need another receiver. I know they drafted Dotson, and they also like Crowder a lot, but you still need that third receiver because they like to run 4 and 3 rides.
I'm assuming we're all going to go defense with the Dallas Cowboys.
No question.
Myles Garrett. Come on. Hey, Jerry, you moved up. You got Zeke last year. Do it again. I know you're up in like 25, 28 range, but
Myles would love that.
Yes, that'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. The guy's dynamic off the edge, but there's a ton of guys out there. There's a defense man out in Stanford. He's a pretty solid player. You'll find a guy, but you got to find a way to get to the quarterback. In this division, a ton of good quarterbacks. We just talked about offenses basically reloading already potent offenses. So you got to find a guy that when you get these leads that you're going to have next year because of that dominant running game and how well everyone played there, you got to find a guy like a Von Miller can take the ball away, Khalil Mack, take the ball away in the game.
Well, they're comparing, Garrett to Von Miller.
Sounds
and
great.
I don't know if he's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be there.
Yeah,
He'll probably be
school,
gone in the top 3 picks, maybe. So, yes, I think you need an interior rusher like a Nick Fairley, a guy who has 6.5 sacks last year that can bring some depth to what you have, that plays the run, or Calais Campbell, that's another free agent. But you can also go out and get Takk McKinley, an outside rusher. Randy Gregory has been there for a couple of years, has not been on the football field because he's been in trouble off the field. So you need a guy on the outside that can rush and play the run and get to the quarterback, opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence. So you need defensive players. That offense is fine. You need guys that can stop people, get off the field, and get to the quarterback.
A war daddy.
A war daddy.
Jerry Jones said
Jerry Jones
earlier
says.
this week. A pass rusher that requires multiple people to block him.
Yes.
Is that the